founding and managing director of Chatstat, 2024 Social Enterprise Pioneer Award winner. Chatstat is an AI-driven platform safeguarding youth mental health by monitoring public social media content for risk of things such as cyberbullying, self-harm, and eating disorders. With a strong background in technology, Lawrence has focused his career on AI to create a safer digital spaces for young people. Under his leadership, Chatstat has protected over 28,000 young Australians, and he's partnered with educational institutions to improve mental health outcomes through timely interventions. Please welcome to the stage, Lawrence.
Is this working? Yep.
Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, great. Hi, Lawrence. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Congratulations again for winning the Social Enterprise Pioneer Award.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about you, how it got started, and where it's going.
Yeah, so Chatstat started back in 2021 when I was doing my PhD at the University of Queensland, and I was also teaching a course there. And during that time, I have a niece who has Down syndrome, and she was being pretty severely cyberbullied. And I'd worked in technology for about 15 years, and I knew that there had to be a better way to utilize technology to solve some of the problems that my niece and her family were having. Fortunately, the course that I was teaching, we had one of Australia's leading social media safety consultants. And so I engaged with her after the course finished to better understand the problems that the parents are having, the schools are having, and how we could use technology to better address some of these issues. After I speaking with her, I also engaged with a number of leading researchers from around the world. And from there, Chatstat was born. And so we started working with the universities to get the data and refine our algorithms. So we're AI before everybody became AI. And after ChatGPT came out, but we're using terms like NLP, machine learning, sentiment analysis back then. Now we just sort of have to use the broad term AI because that's what everybody knows. But yeah, but that was the beginning of Chatstat.
Amazing. And how's everything going since then? What's the biggest things you've learned along the way?
Oh, the biggest thing is really trying to stay focused on the end user. So making sure that we can have those outcomes that we want. So not just providing parents with the alerts, because an alert without engagement means nothing. So using AI not to just be able to analyze the content out there, not analyzing the text, the audio, the video, the imagery that's being posted, using that technology to understand the content, but then also provide, through our generative AI, provide feedback to the parents on how to actually engage with the child, because a lot of the issues that we deal with are really difficult for parents to have conversations about. So when you're dealing with eating disorders, when you're dealing with cyberbullying, when you're dealing with issues such as self-harm, these aren't easy conversations to have. So, cyberbullying never existed when most parents were growing up. So how do you have a conversation with your child that's completely foreign to you? So providing the parents with that advice, and then also giving them the additional resources. So we're able to detect where the parent is located and provide the resources that would be relevant to them. So maybe it's Beyond Blue or Lifeline or whatever the relevant resource might be for them to seek that further engagement.
So you're approaching on multiple different levels in that case. You're giving them the parents advice. You're also looking at what's happening in terms of on the platforms or online. And I've seen that you're also working with educational institutions as well. So what are you doing there?
Yeah, so with the educational institutions, they'll usually have somebody on the ground that's able to understand these situations. So one of the things that we've learned is that, as ideal as it seems, I'm a parent. I'm sure most of the people in this room are parents also, and we all love and care for our children as much as we possibly can. Unfortunately, some of the children that are most in need of help, their parents aren't engaged in their lives. And so as much as we want to provide that support to the parents, trying to actually get the parents on board can be challenging. So what are the other points of contact in that child's life that we can actually be influencing to be able to provide that help? And that's why we have the educational institution involvement as well.
And what about people that potentially those that aren't parents or aren't working in education? What can they learn from Chatstat as well?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we've learned over the years is that, through a number of conversations with researchers, as well as working with educational institutions, consultants, is trying to stay focused on what the end goal is and how you're going to achieve that. So as I was mentioning, we can often come with these very idealistic views that, every parent wants to help their child. And so, we give it to the parents and that the parents will help the child. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. So really thinking about, okay, how are we going to actually make that positive difference? Who is it that we need to be contacting? Who is it that is going to actually be able to have that effect of change? And so keeping that focus, being focused on actually getting the outcome, not just having an idealistic vision of, when we often start these things, it's often a very idealistic vision that drives us. But as we grow, we learn more and learn that, okay, the idealism's good to sort of push us forward, but we also need to stay focused on how are we going to get those outcomes that we want.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff that Chatstat is doing. It's I think being the older generation with the young people coming up, we see what's happening online, but we're not actually in the thick of it. So being in the thick of it through the AI app is super crucial, and it's incredible stuff. Tell me what's happening in the future for Chatstat. What are your big dreams? What are the goals?
Well, so most recently, we're expanding over to North America. Obviously, unfortunately, the issues that we deal with aren't isolated just to Australia. They're a global issue, and so we're trying to affect change on a global level. Additionally, we've most recently been approached by Deloitte to be able to apply the same algorithms that we're using for protecting youth mental health to also protect workplace mental health. So keeping track of what's happening in the Teams chats, the Slack channels, the emails for things such as harassment, bullying, toxic cultures that are developing, so that we're able to actually address these issues at an early stage before situations escalate.
Wow, that was going to be my next question. With everyone in the audience, especially the businesses and government in the audience, how can they get involved with Chatstat? How can they support? How can they hear from the supplier?
Yes, please. If you have any questions, I'll be here for the rest of the day. So please come over and engage with me. I have one of my other team members here. I'd love to have a conversation with you. For us, it's all about impact. So however we might be able to partner with you and assist each other, I'd love to have that conversation.
We have some time for some questions. Does anyone have any interesting questions to ask Lawrence? Got one here. Kathy. Here comes the microphone. Maybe here comes the microphone, Kathy.
Thank you. Great initiative. I'm just curious as to how that last piece that you just shared in respect to the Deloitte's piece, being able to, I guess, place the system into chats to monitor, how does that actually sit legally?
So it really depends upon the organization. Different organizations have different policies, and so we have to make sure that we abide by the workplace policy. Additionally, we're able to monitor for things such as right to disconnect. So our team members being sent messages outside business hours that isn't applicable. So one of the first things that we do with our system, we have it's called RAGs. So we're able to monitor, we're able to look, our system's able to analyze the workplace contract, any other relevant legislation that would apply to the position that the worker is in, and then apply those rules to the monitoring and analysis of their content. So we're not looking at any private content of the employees. So we're only looking at content that's actually being shared on the workplace channels. So if somebody's sending private text messages, for instance, we're not monitoring that. We're not installing any apps or anything like that onto the workers' devices. And likewise, we're not doing that with any of the children either. We're only monitoring the publicly posted content. So just so everybody knows, because yeah, that's one of the other things that we noticed when we were doing our research is that installing apps on children's phones, as ideal as it sounds, it often breaks down the trust between the parent and the child. So we're really about that engagement piece. And likewise, within the workplace, that's what we're about as well. So understanding what the content's likely related to, sending a message to the worker, letting them know what we have detected, who their relevant HR manager is, and also sending that message through that content through to the HR manager so that they're able to evaluate it and engage with that worker. Hopefully that answers your question.
Any other questions, Susie?
I'm fascinated with any conversations you might be having with the social media companies. And surely this is the kind of technology that they should be putting on their systems and kicking people off so we don't have to do it for them.
I highly agree with you. And that was one of the first things that I did when I started Chatstat. And it's been a few years now. I'm still waiting to hear back. So as soon as I do, I'll let you know.
Awesome.
It's unfortunate, but yeah, I think that for them, ignorance is bliss often. If they start getting alerted to these issues, then that means they need to take action. So for them, their view is that if we don't know about it, then we can just sort of pretend things aren't happening, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. We've got a question at the back here asking, oh, there he goes.
Thank you. Thanks for running around the room, and thanks for your answering all those questions, and now mine. So what sort of LLM are you using, and is it an open source LLM?
We're using multiple different LLMs. So one of the things that we found is different LLMs are better for analyzing different types of content. So you might know like Hugging Face and some of these other things that are out there. So there's a few different LLMs that we're using for detecting different data sources, also with multimodal AI. So just a multimodal AI is we're using for being able to not just understand the text, but also understand the audio, the imagery, the video that's being posted out there. And it's one of the nice things about having started from my time at doing PhD research at University of Queensland, I still have a very strong relationship with University of Queensland, as well as a number of other research institutions around the world, and we're continually refining our data sets through them and these other organizations that we engage with.
Yeah, sorry, this follow-up question is, are the LLMs ethical? Because they're using big data sets, and where does that data come from? Is it clean? Is it ethical?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So it really comes down to like a lot of the training. So one of the things that we started doing with some of the researchers was looking at how they classify their data, okay? So looking at the coding, so you'll have all these messages and things will be considered risk, not risk. And then we started looking at how they're coded, and we're like, okay, this probably isn't accurate. And so we went through and started recoding all of these ourselves. And I think like how a lot of these systems were originally trained, they just sort of outsourced it. So you're applying these models through people that people are doing the coding that might not necessarily understand the context of the situation. And so, if somebody comes from a different cultural context, they might consider something not to be bullying, but over here we definitely consider it bullying. And so we've actually went through and manually started coding all of these ourselves because we didn't agree with how the coding was taking place. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, we can talk. That sounds perfect.
We've probably got time for one more question. Does anyone have a question over here? Karen.
Thanks very much for the presentation, Lawrence. I'm just curious about privacy aspects. Mainly working in, say, a highly secure area, does that prevent you from implementing your tool into different organisations due to their security posture?
Yeah, so it really depends upon the organization. Obviously, different government institutions, as well as some larger corporates, it becomes more challenging. And so, yeah, we really just have to be, you know, we're able to do it, but it often takes longer. There's different legal things that need to be signed off for. It needs to go through multiple compliance checks and so forth. So it's possible, but the time frames are, I'm sure you've dealt with it. And so, yeah, it's one of these things, but it's possible. But yeah, just the time frames take a bit longer than would be ideal.
Thank you. And a silly little one, does it do GIFs or is it only written content?
Sorry, does it?
Do GIFs, like if you're having a
Yes,
conversation
yes.
in
So
GIFs.
it can do GIFs, it can do audio, it can do so that's comes back to the multimodal AI aspect that I was talking about, being not just able to analyze the text, but also being able to analyze the audio, the video, the imagery that's being shared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. We've got a little.
I look forward to speaking with many of you later. So please come up and approach me with any questions you might have. Cheers.
And we've got a little award for you, Lawrence.
Thank
Let me
you.
just, oh, there goes the remote.